Hey, everybody. Welcome to our small group. My name is Renee. I'm one of the pastors at Twin Lakes Church, and I'm joined by my friends Adrian and Sarah. They're co-leads here at Vintage Faith. We're in Sarah's office today. And as you know, if you've been joining us in these Bible studies, our churches decided to do this Daniel series together. And so we're producing these small group intro videos together as well, just to give you a taste of what it might be to be in our small group and maybe provoke some questions in your own small group as well. And the discussion starter question for this week is this. Today we're going to meet a king who has to eat grass like a cow. What is the strangest thing you have ever eaten?
For me, it's got to be brain. I ate brain.
Okay, that's strange.
I've eaten it in two places, in Africa and in Central America.
Wow.
One in a taco and one just as a side dish on a platter of other things. And it's not good. I'm not going to lie.
Did you hear people say that you need to eat more mindfully, and so you decided to?
They should have.
Okay.
Which camera do I
Good
look
job.
at?
So it's not good.
I didn't care for it. But
Yeah.
probably the look of it was the hardest thing. It's gray and looks like tubes.
Sure.
So I think if I could get past that, it would just taste like chicken.
Yeah.
But the look of it was rough.
Wow, cook it with butter and garlic and it'd probably be delicious.
Enough onions, butter, and garlic. You're
Brain.
good to go.
Well, that's
That
food
is
for thought.
true.
Adrian?
Yeah, I've traveled some, but I haven't eaten much strange things. I think the thing that I didn't like the most was actually Korean. I was with Korean friends and they were having a soup and I had it and the things in there looked like some like plastic webbing. Like, what is this? And I ate it, didn't care for it, and it was stomach lining or tripe or
Yes,
those things.
yes.
Delicacy. Some people love it, but yeah, it didn't look like food. I liked when I was like, this looks like something fell from a shelf, but my mom loved it, and so also my friends. But
That's
yeah.
intense.
How about you?
Well, my gut response to that is that
Oh,
doesn't sound very
gosh.
good, but
Can't help yourself.
I can't help
help it.
myself. I'm a dad, so the dad jokes flow naturally.
Somebody's like, what did he say?
I know.
Gut response.
But I think maybe one of the weirdest things was fried grasshopper. I had that in Africa. And maybe the strangest thing was my response, which was, this is actually quite delicious. I loved it. And I'm apparently not alone, because I heard that the restaurant just down the street from Vintage Faith here, Kapal,
Yeah.
offers grasshopper on its menu. So there you go.
Very efficient protein vehicle.
There you have it.
Enough butter,
And
enough
probably
garlic,
never
once
run
again.
out.
Yeah,
Exactly. Oh, let's hop right on that. So we are looking today at Daniel chapter 4. And just to summarize the story for you, it's King Nebuchadnezzar yet again, and he has a dream that troubles him. It's a dream of a beautiful, fruitful, shady tree, lots of animals underneath it. But then an angel says this tree has to be cut down for 7 times, 7 years, and it's going to soak up the dew until maybe, and then he changes it to a personal pronoun, he recognizes that God is sovereign over all. And Nebuchadnezzar's waking up and who's the he? What's going on? And he summons Daniel, and we learn his Babylonian name, Belteshazzar. And he says, Daniel, what does this mean? And Daniel's terrified. And the king says, don't worry about it. Tell me what it really means. Which shows me that Daniel's developed some trust with the king. And Daniel says, I wish, O king, that this was a dream about one of your enemies. But it's not. It's about you. He says, you're the tree. That's the good news. The tree is beautiful and bountiful, and you give shade to a lot of people. People have been blessed by your kingdom, but there's a shortcoming in you. And God is going to remove you from your position of authority, and you're going to become like a beast of the field, and you're going to get your water from the dew off the grass. You're going to eat whatever the beast. You're going to lose your understanding. And then after 7 years, if you acknowledge that God is the one who gives us everything we have. If we have anything, it's a gift of God, including the kingship or whatever it is that we have. Only then will God restore you. And sure enough, the king doesn't take Daniel's warning. And we read in verse 28, all this happened to King Nebuchadnezzar 12 months later. As the king was walking on the roof of the royal palace, he said, is this not the great Babylon I have built as the royal residence by my mighty power and for the glory of me, my majesty? The words were still on his lips when Nebuchadnezzar becomes like a beast of the field. And maybe we would say today he has a mental breakdown. He can't think straight anymore. And he wanders off and ends up living like a feral person out in the fields. And it's only after 7 years that Nebuchadnezzar gives his own testimony. He says in verse 34, "At the end of the time, I, Nebuchadnezzar, raised my eyes toward heaven, and my sanity was restored, and then I praised the Most High, and I honored and glorified him who lives forever, and said, his dominion is an eternal dominion. His kingdom endures from generation to generation. Everyone on earth is to be regarded as nothing. He does as he pleases with the powers of heaven and the peoples of earth. No one can hold back God's hand or say to him, what have you done?" And so he basically has this, we would say today, a come to Jesus moment, and acknowledges God as sovereign. So, I mean, another iconic story from the book of Daniel. And one of the things that jumps out to me is right there in the first question, and that's the temptation to think we're on equal footing with God is sneaky, right? If you asked anybody directly, very few people would say, yes, I think I'm equal to God. However, our attitudes, our actions, our thoughts in different areas show that we do desire almost godlike control over circumstances, over people. How have you seen that in your own life, and how do you respond to this story?
You know, what's interesting is I think I see that most as a parent. The temptation to have godlike control over your children so they'll do what you want. And it comes from a good place. You want them to live well and love Jesus and all of that, but it can come with this unhealthy, desire to control all of their actions and all of their behaviors so that they walk the way you want them to walk. And it's hard to step back and say, God, ultimately they're yours. I want you to be in control of them and in control of how I guide and love them. So that's a piece
really
for me.
Good. And that's so much easier to see in other parents than in yourself, right?
100%.
But they're helicopter parents.
Absolutely.
They're over-controlling.
Yes.
Me? Never. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think the sneakiness of it, at least as Christians, the way I see it, show up in my own life, it includes, I was thinking the same thing with our kids. And, my kids are 14 and 11, and they're, going into 6th and 9th grade. And so there's all this new stuff happening, and I'm getting worried that they're going into the world, and I want to protect them. But yeah, that, and even lots of things. What I recognize is I'll get deep into something, parenting or preparing a sermon, and I'll have a pause where I say, have I prayed one time to even ask God for help or for guidance or for wisdom? I think a lot of times we just jump into the, pilot's or whatever seat you want to say and just take control. And at the end, I find myself at least saying, oh God, can you bless this thing that I'm doing, and forget that he's in control of our kids or what God wants us to tell people in our congregations. And, a lot of times I'll have to stop. I remember sometimes just stopping and closing my laptop and just spending some time in prayer and just asking God, what do you want to do? Like, please, you guide your people and me. And yeah, but again, it's sneaky because I'm doing great stuff. I'm getting ready for church or telling my kids the right thing, but it's where I don't even want God to be a part of it.
Kind of relying on your own power.
For sure.
Yeah, that absolutely. Yeah. Another thing, and this is a later question in the small group material, is how often that's revealed in us taking credit, as Nebuchadnezzar did, for stuff that we do, even in our own minds. Yeah. And that's another very sneaky thing. Yeah. One of the old Christian writers told a great story that I've never forgotten about 2 fleas that are on the back of a dog. And the dog shakes himself when he goes outside, and they fall onto pavement. And one of them falls into a crack in the pavement that's so deep even the flea can't get out. And the other one falls onto a rotting carcass of some animal that's on the sidewalk or on the pavement. And that one, the one in the carcass, just feeds and feeds and feeds for 2 weeks and becomes a fat, sleek flea. And the other one that fell into the crack of the sidewalk just is almost starved to death. It's just meager. And then finally, this guy finally ends up getting out of the pavement. And this guy finally is so sated, he crawls out of the carcass and they meet on the sidewalk. And the flea that fell into the crack looks at the flea that's fat and happy and he goes, "Look at you, to what do you attribute your success?" And he says, "Well, the force of my personality and careful planning." You know, it's like it was completely an accident that one fell one place and one fell the other. Yeah. And yet the fat, happy one attributes it all to himself.
Yeah.
And obviously, I think the sovereignty of God is not the same as an accident, but so often we do the same thing, right? We attribute all kinds of virtue to ourselves for things that are really just a gift of God. Well, listen, I hope this has gotten you prepared to discuss some of these issues with your own small group. You got all those questions there. I hope you enjoy your discussion, and we'll see you next week.